All right. Hello, one and all. Welcome to the May 12th Complete Streets Commission meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with Complete Streets Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this state, federal, and local emergency. Moving on to roll call, I want to introduce Complete Streets Commission members and staff who are here. I'm Chair Adina Levin. The commissioners present are Jackie Sebrian. Let's see, is John here?
Not yet.
All right. Jackie Sebrian is here. Bill Kirsch is here. Lydia Lee and Mike Meyer are here. Katie Baruzzi is excused, absent, and John Cromie is not here yet. Staff present include Kevin Chen and Patrick Palmer. Patrick, can you please provide instructions to the Complete Streets Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed from here?
Yes, and thank you, Chair Levin and the members of the Complete Streets Commission. Welcome everyone to the May 12th Complete Streets Commission meeting, and thank you for attending. At this time, we ask that the members of the commission please remain on screen for the duration of the meeting. You will control your own webcams and microphones. Staff will engage webcams and microphones to make presentations and respond to the members of the commission. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment after the chair calls for the public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raised hand feature. I will then be able to open your microphone and you can provide your public comment to the Complete Streets Commission. For members of the public who are calling in from a landline or a cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. That concludes the instructions, and I return the meeting to the chair.
All right, thank you, Patrick. And we will move on to item C, reports and announcements, under which staff and commission members may communicate general information of interest regarding matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. No commission discussion or action can occur on any of the presented items. Kevin, can you please share any reports and announcements that you may have?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Give me a couple seconds as I pull up my file here. So a lot of action have been taken since the last time I met, so I'm going to briefly go over some that might be of interest to the Commission here. First and foremost, the City Council provided direction on their 2021 work plan and priorities. It was a really healthy discussion, and at the end of that discussion, there were essentially 9 priority projects that came out of that. Now, with those projects, there's still going to be the next round of process where staff would go back and reevaluate the amount of resources needed to effectively complete those projects in their respective milestones for 2021. So it's certainly not a set deal, but there is a clear direction what the initial 9 projects are going to be for the top priorities. And in no particular order, they are the citywide redistricting. So that's one. The second one is a study session on imagining public safety. The third one is actually the Climate Action Plan number 1. As many of you know, there are about 6 goals in the Climate Action Plan. And number 1 is to explore a policy or program option to convert 95% of existing buildings to all electric by 2030. So that's number 3. Number 4 is the 2020 housing element and related zoning code updates and documents. So this is certainly another one that is going to be very exciting for the coming year. Number 5 is Connect Menlo Community Amenity List Update. Certainly something that has been in the forefront of conversation. Followed by Menlo Park Community Campus Building. And number 7 would be Reimagining Downtown. Number 8 is the Caltrain Rail Corridor Quiet Zone Analysis. If you attended a few of the goal setting meetings before, you certainly recognize that this is many public members have spoke about this particular project. And of course, number 9 is also the Climate Action Plan, number 4B, specifically revolving the Middle Avenue Rail Crossing and Complete Street project. So this is both the Middle Avenue, the ped and bike rail crossing. So this is the one that's going underneath the Caltrain track. And then also the Complete Street project, which is effectively encompass Middle Avenue from El Camino all the way down to Olive. So that's being combined into one category, but it's actually two distinct projects. So that's basically the discussion that have taken place for the City Council work plan. A few other things I just wanted to quickly highlight. We were able to award agreements with 2 companies for our annual citywide street signage and striping program. So this is very exciting for us as we continue to see traffic increase. We now should have the capacity to handle any demand, routine demands or emergency demands that we need to do for the street, for our street signage and striping. Also, for many of you know that the Complete Street Commission and the City Council had approved the Laurel and Ravenswood intersection improvement. I just wanted to highlight that a contract has been awarded to the company to implement that project. There's still some nuances that will need to be addressed through the next round. For instance, lane width, some striping details, but overall we were able to secure a contract to actually implement that intersection improvement. So that's really exciting news. So with that, I will conclude my announcements.
Okay, terrific. So we will move. Do we? I see that Bill Kirsch has a hand on this item. Bill.
Yeah, just a quick question, Kevin. You mentioned the council has these priorities, and one of them was the Middle Avenue undercrossing. So when something is a priority, what does it mean with respect to that, to the undercrossing? Does that mean they'll devote more staff resource to it? Does it mean they'll increase the budget to get it done? What does it actually mean? Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, before I answer it, I do want to preface by saying that is simply directions that we have received from the City Council. Is not by any means a final list. Now, with that being said, in the past, the City Council would dedicate 5 projects that they consider to be the priority projects. And like you mentioned, what that means is that from a staff perspective, we are dedicating resources to those projects to achieve milestones outlined for each of the projects. To the extent possible, obviously, we'll also complete some of the other projects that are usually on the work plan, because usually it's more than 5 projects, obviously, that are going on simultaneously yearly. But being on a priority list also means if there's a need to redirect resources, and this could be money, this could be staff time, etc., to pull off some other project and dedicate them to the priority project in order to meet those milestone timelines, that will be done accordingly. So being on the priority project, like you mentioned, will mean that, from a staff perspective, we have been given the authority to do what is necessary to achieve those milestones.
Just real quick follow-up. I think Murad was working on that project, I believe, right? And
yes.
Now he's no longer there. What is that? I mean, it says to me that they're deprioritizing the project.
No, certainly that is not the case at all. I think right now, the project, there are still some negotiation going on with the adjacent property owners, as the commission know. There's still conversation to be had with Caltrans in terms of construction activities and sequencing, etc. We are also actively looking for grant funding opportunities to fill up that funding gap. It's certainly, I think from the forefront, it might look like there's not too many things going on, but there are definitely works in the background that are being completed. Yeah.
Last quick question. Is Nikki now in charge of that project?
For the time being, yes. For the time being, our Public Works Director, Nikki Nagaya, is overseeing the project. Of course, that's to be reevaluated. As I reported at I believe the last meeting, we are in the process of potentially getting an assistant public works director for the transportation division. So, and that hiring will likely take place maybe later on this summer, etc. So obviously, as we recuperate more staff resources for the transportation division, some of the prioritization of projects will get shifted as well. But for the time being, Nikki, our public works director, is the go-to person.
Thank you.
All right. All right. I will thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from members of the commission? I am not seeing any. So we will move on to general public comment, item D, under which the public may address the Complete Streets Commission on any subject that is not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Patrick, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chair. For anyone who may have just joined us, if you do have a public comment, please just raise your virtual hand and I will be able to get to you. At this time, it does not look like we have a public comment.
Okay, in which case, thank you very much, Patrick, and we will move on to regular business where the commission considers recommendation from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require commission approval. And the first item of regular business is E1, approving the regular meeting minutes of March 10th, 2021. Do we have any feedback on the minutes? Any from any commissioners, any hands if you have feedback on the minutes? I'm gonna take a quick second and scan them and see that it has nothing awry and askew. And if there are no comments on those, it would be great to have a motion regarding and a second regarding the minutes. Actually, is there any public comment on these minutes? I'm not seeing any. So would like to ask for a motion and second for the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All right, can staff help with the vote?
Great, thank you very much. So if I can have a show of hands from commissioners in attendance, voting yes for the minutes. I believe I have everyone. Chair, I do not see a hand from you, so is that an affirmative vote? Great, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that was a yes. Sorry, I was reading ahead here on our agenda, and want to move on to an item as E3, which is getting an update from Samtrans on their comprehensive operational analysis, which is friendly branded as Reimagine Samtrans. And before we ask for Samtrans, for staff to present Samtrans, I am going to ask a question about the format, because Samtrans is going to present Reimagine Samtrans, and I am wondering if we're going to do any interactive element in this presentation. Is Samtrans going to be asking for live feedback from us, and what format we should do that? So if that can be addressed in some combination of staff, city staff and Samtrans about like how we can give our feedback in this session, that would be welcome. So staff will introduce the folks from Samtrans.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair, and certainly welcome that introduction. So I just excited to introduce Christy Wagner and also Ryan McCauley. Apologize if I mispronounce your name there. So they are from the Samtrans team here to introduce the Reimagine Samtrans, specifically the bus network alternative. So really excited to have them here, introduce the item and also share some of the progress that have been going on here for the project. So with that being said, logistically, staff will be the one presenting the presentation. And then at this point, I will go ahead and turn it over to Christy while I pull up the presentation. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi.
I think Ryan's actually going to introduce the item first. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Christy. Thanks, Kevin. Hi, everyone. Ryan McCauley, Government Community Affairs Specialist with Samtrans. Very excited and happy to be here with you all tonight to talk about Reimagine Samtrans. Before I hand it over to Christy, I do just want to plug our website. It's listed at the bottom right there, reimaginesamtrans.com. And we'd really love for anyone and everyone to take the survey that we have on the different alternatives and the different route networks. So just wanted to plug that. And with that, I'll hand it over to our Director of Planning, Christy Wegner.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you about our project. To answer your question, I think how we can best collect feedback is I will pause at the end of each section that covers each alternative and open it up for Q&A and discussion. So we'll have 3 points of opportunity for input if that pleases the chair. Okay, great, wonderful. So I first want to apologize for saying you are the Menlo Park Complete Streets Committee on the slide. You are a commission. My apologies for that. We've been really busy doing a lot of meetings the last month and a half. So my apologies for that. But we are here today to talk to you about our really exciting project, Reimagine Samtrans. So tonight we're going to talk about our goals and project timeline, and then really spend some time in the weeds with our alternatives and kind of honing in on South County and talking about our route ECR. And then we'll give you an overview of our public input, our public outreach, which we are deep in the middle of right now. And hopefully you can help us spread the word and share this with your network so we can get feedback from everyone. And then we can have some questions and discussion throughout. So when we launched our project, we identified 3 goals for Reimagine Samtrans. It was really to improve the experience for our riders and our customers, to grow new and more frequent ridership on our bus network, and to be efficient and effective with our resources. So this is a really near-term study. This is designed to produce a route network in August of 2022. And so as we are, coming out of this pandemic and really reflecting on the impact COVID-19 has had on our project, we really think we need to double down on improving the experience for our existing customers. Our ridership's down 60% still from pre-pandemic levels. And so those who are on our bus right now, we need to make sure they're having a good experience and that we're focusing on them. And we do think that it may be challenging to grow new ridership. We're not sure what travel patterns may change or reemerge, in the next year or two, but we think it is important and possible to grow more frequent ridership. And we also think that it's more important than ever to be effective and efficient with our resources. We are limited with workforce and vehicles, but I think we're challenging ourselves to think about effectiveness differently. And I think that the project team is really excited about trying to advance the spirit of equity in our service redesign and trying to build an effective bus network that really is impactful and provides good mobility in the communities that need it the most. Next slide, please. So we launched our project in June of 2019. We spent the first 6 months or so doing a deep dive into our data to understand our ridership, to understand our on-time performance, understand how bus stops were used. We also did a lot of work doing outreach to our public, to the community. We did market research. You may have answered a survey for us in fall 2019. And then we had to press the pause button in spring of 2020 to respond to the pandemic and really pivot. And we relaunched this project in the fall and started to design 3 different bus network alternatives, which I'm here tonight to present to you. These bus network alternatives are really designed to reflect all of the information and feedback that we heard in our first round of outreach. And I'll say this now and I'll mention it again. You'll see 3 different networks tonight, But the final preferred network, which we are going to piece together over the summer, will be a combination of these three. We're hoping to advance the best features of each of these different alternatives in our preferred network. And then we'll take that preferred network back out this fall, do another round of outreach. And what we are hopeful to do is bring this to our board, the Samtrans board, for adoption at the beginning of 2022, and then we will work on implementation in August 2022. So it's really a near-term project, and it's starting to get really exciting. It's less than a year and a half away from implementation. Next slide, please. Next slide. Great, thank you.
Sorry, yeah, I'm a little lacking on my end.
All good, all good. Okay, you can go one more slide too. Thank you. So as I noted, the network alternatives were informed by data, by public input, and by market research. We really wanted to really understand what people wanted and what trade-offs people were willing to make. Were you willing to walk a little further for a bus if it runs a little bit more frequently and a little faster? And so our network alternatives are really designed to articulate those trade-offs that we as transit planners have to make every day as we're service planning. Next slide, please. And no matter where we land, across all these different network alternatives and in our eventual preferred alternative, we really do have some things we want to accomplish no matter what. We've identified our underproductive or unproductive routes, and we are proposing to reallocate some of those resources to our higher need areas. So that means removing service from some places and putting it in areas that we think are higher need. We are trying to be more efficient, and so streamlining routes or consolidating trips where we think we have capacity to free up resources. We think improving connections, being a good first last mile provider, connecting to Caltrain and BART and Muni, also, doing a good job connecting to ourselves is really important. And, just being on time and reliable, those are all very important. So no matter where we land, we really have, these 6 objectives that we want to achieve. Next slide, please. So now without further ado, are the themes of our 3 alternatives. Our first alternative is really the high frequency bus network that really delivers the most frequent service in San Mateo County. Our alternative 2 looks at expanding connections to rail and the region. And alternative 3 looks at retaining the most geographic coverage within the county. Next slide. So actually, I'll have you go one more slide down, and I'm just gonna, I'll spend some time on this slide. So alternative 1 is our frequent network. So this network takes our frequent service, which we are defining as 15 minutes or better, from 3 routes to 7. So we would have 7 routes with all day 15 minutes or better service. And on this map, what I just want to draw your attention to, we have on the left is our existing service pre-COVID, and on the right is alternative 1. And the route colors are meant to represent frequency. So the most frequent routes are in red at 15 minutes or better. Blue is your 30 minutes service. Green is 60 minutes, and yellow is peak only. So if you look side by side, you just can see a lot of red popping out on the right. There's just, so many more frequent lines in the county. But I'll note that in order to accomplish this frequency, you'll see we aren't going into San Francisco anymore. We truncate our route 292 at the county line, but we are doubling the local service in that Brisbane community and down to Millbrae. So what we had heard from people, through our outreach and through our market research was that frequency was what riders and potential riders really wanted. And so this alternative is really designed to show what that could look like, but understanding that there are trade-offs to be made. I'll just note this alternative also has a new route into Oyster Point every 15 minutes all day. And this route has a new limited stop route from East Palo Alto to San Bruno BART via SFO. Now, the next slide is our deep dive into the South County, just highlighting some route changes, and we can go as deep as you want with any of these. So in this alternative, we have a Route 296, which runs between Redwood City along Middlefield up into East Palo Alto. So we have this route running every 15 minutes, 7 days a week. We have an ECR South. So in this alternative, our ECR bus gets split into 2 routes, and I have a slide on that next. But the southern segment runs every 15 minutes as it does today. We have improved service between East Palo Alto and the Palo Alto Caltrain station on routes 280, 281. We have a consolidation of route 270, 276, which is up feeding the eastern side of the Redwood City Caltrain station, and that route would operate every 15 minutes. And we do have some trade-offs. So we see a reduction in some coverage on route 295, which is a feeder route in Redwood City. Some reduction in route 286. And if you can go one more slide, and then I can pause for comments. Oh, you know what? Go back. I'm so sorry, Kevin. Apparently I don't know my slide deck well enough. The last thing I'll mention is just the ECR proposal in this alternative is to split the route at the Millbrae Barton Caltrain station, run the northern segment every 10 minutes, run the southern segment every 15, and have a rapid service as an overlay between Redwood City and San Bruno. So that was a lot. I'm sorry. I know not everyone is a bus person. I'm still learning all this stuff. So I'll pause and take any comments or questions on alternative 1.
Right. And I am going to have some comments, but want to see if any other commissioners have any comments or questions on alternative 1, and if there are any members of the public too that want to chime in. Anybody else other than me? If not, I will talk, and then if anybody else has any questions, they can jump in. So a couple of things that I like about this. I'm a reasonably frequent user of the 296 and the ECR, so I'm really glad to see the 296 being beefed up in this option. It carries people. It goes through North Fair Oaks with a lot of bus riders, and so I think that is good. And I also like the changes to the 270, 276 in that part of Redwood City, and maybe it's a bit of North Fair Oaks too, maybe. But anyway, that is kind of useful, and it didn't run very frequently before, so that is another good change. The reduction into San Francisco, the question I have is, by not going all the way into San Francisco, is there a connection to some other service that does go into San Francisco, or does it just like drop you off someplace where you never get to San Francisco if that's where you want it to go?
No, never. Oh my goodness, no. We would connect to Muni. I'm not a Muni expert, and I can dig through my emails and get the actual location where we would terminate that route. But no, the idea would be to take advantage of the many Muni services that go into the city. We have actually been talking to Muni about this concept, and I'll just say that we've heard feedback from riders that they're concerned with this alternative. With truncating Route 292 at the county line, that they're concerned about paying 2 fares. They're concerned about just transferring and ease of transferring and crowding and whatnot. So we hear that, and I think that what we wanted to do was just demonstrate what a frequent network could look like. So we wanted to reinvest those 292 resources back in the county, and so I'm not sure it's where we will land. It's the only alternative of the 3 that removes service from San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I was going over this with someone that lives in, I think they live in San Carlos, and they were asking a question about going into San Francisco, and they didn't, in the way that it was presented in the survey, they didn't know that it would involve a handoff to Muni. And so I think that's something we're clarifying, that, if you carry any of these forward, it would be really helpful to clarify, because it wasn't clear at all with the person who was going through the survey.
Okay.
All right.
Any other comments from anybody else? I see that Lydia Lee has a hand. Lydia.
Hi, I have some really general questions that I hope I am not derailing the conversation too much by asking. So what is like the daily or weekly usage of Samtrans right now? And how does that compare to something like Caltrain? Can you just
Oh, yeah,
big strokes to let us know what
sure.
big we're talking about right now?
Yeah. So right now in pandemic land, we are about 60% lower than we were before the pandemic. And that means that translates to about 15,000 to 16,000 trips a day, passenger trips. So now Caltrain, some of you may know better than me. I don't know the hard numbers. I do know that Caltrain is still down, 92% from pre-pandemic levels. So we are carrying, Samtrans is carrying more trips than Caltrain right now. Pre-pandemic, Caltrain was, double at least what we were, maybe more on a daily basis. So Caltrain definitely carried more trips. That wasn't always the case. The bus used to be strong and mighty. It's a bit of a role reversal right now, but I think it kind of reflects where our buses go and who is riding them. We're different. Our buses go different places. We think we can work together better, of course, and we strive to do that with our systems. I think we're just carrying different, just different riders. Our riders are, if you look at the rider data, the Caltrain riders are consistently really high income. Our riders make on average less than 50,000 a year. So.
Got it. So it might have to do with price as well, because Caltrain is a more expensive.
Yeah, probably. And I know Adina is shaking her head. Yeah, I would imagine that price sensitivity is a thing for sure.
Got it. Okay. And then another question is, I don't know what the state of the art is in taking feedback on bus usage. I know that, like say if you're waiting for a bus and the bus that comes along is super crowded and you end up having to wait for the next bus as a result. I don't think that's an issue right now with the pandemic. I'm guessing it's probably not, but or is there any sort of rapid way to collect that kind of information from riders right now in order to figure out, obviously you're doing surveys and things like that, right? But nothing kind of is there any real-time data collection going on?
No, it's a great question. So I would say that, right now our buses are at really reduced capacity. We can't carry more than 25% capacity for social distancing. So our operators are, if we do have a crowding issue, we're calling that in and we're deploying standby buses. So trying not to leave passengers behind. The real time, that's an interesting question. I'll need to give it some thought. I think, there's definitely ways to get in touch with us. I think we could do better at the real time, interactivity with our riders. We're on Twitter, we're on social media, but I'm not sure we're just monitoring it, real time. But I think that's our next level. And that's what we really do need to do to kind of crowdsource information.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in some airport bathrooms, I think you can, there's like the green button, the red button where you can push whether you're automatic feedback about their experience.
Yeah.
I always thought that was, super clever because bathrooms are important. Cleanliness is really important to people, right? So, if you want to take the pulse of what's going on in your bathrooms, that's a really clever system. And so, I don't know if there's a industry standard kind of public transit app where you can instantly record hey, this was good, this was bad, or just so that people get automatic feedback on that.
I love that idea. Yeah, no, I'll pass it on. I'm sure someone has something that they've thought of that has that feature, so we'll have to find it. Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, of course. So we can move into alternative 2 if that's all right. Unless there are any more questions. So alternative 2 is our, expanded connections to rail in the region. And if you just go to the next slide, which is our side-by-side maps, I can talk through some of the changes. So in this alternative, if you look just at the maps, you see the fewest changes, right? This alternative, we're not doing too much to the route network in terms of changing the frequency. You do see a little bit more frequent service in alternative 2. You also do see that we are continuing to go into San Francisco in alternative 2. So this alternative has 3 express routes. So it's our sort of connections to rail in the region. So we have our Foster City to San Francisco express route is reintroduced in this alternative. The East Palo Alto to San Bruno route is also in this alternative, as is a new San Mateo to San Francisco express route. This alternative has 2 routes going into Oyster Point, which is great. One of them running every 15 minutes. And we have improved connections to Skyline College in this alternative. And we're also dabbling with limited stop service in this alternative. So 3 routes are transformed into limited stop service. One is Route 292, and that transforms into a limited stop in San Francisco only. And another one, and the largest one, is our El Camino Real, our ECR bus. So unlike alternative 1, which splits the route, this alternative attempts to speed the bus up by removing up to 30% of the bus stops. And what we heard from all of our research and outreach was that passengers and riders valued travel time. Faster buses matter. So we do really think that that is important. So if you can go to the next slide, just jumping down to South County. Again, we see our East Palo Alto limited stop / express route up to San Bruno BART. We see a consolidation of service between East Palo Alto and the Palo Alto Caltrain station on a consolidated route 281. We've got the 270, 276 operating more frequently in this alternative, which is hitting the North Fair Oaks area. And let me think another highlight here. Oh, just that the 295, which is a feeder route, is no longer going into Redwood City, and it stops at San Carlos. I think those are the highlights for alternative 2. I mentioned ECR's limited stop. And I can pause there and see if anyone has any feedback on this alternative or any questions.
All right. Does anybody, in addition to me, have questions? Please do raise your Zoom hand. And while you ponder your question, I will ask a couple. So in this option, I don't see the 296 remain at today's frequency or get less frequent?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me look really quickly in my handy booklet here because I don't know all the details. And I will just say all of this information is on our website. We have so much information, just to plug it while I'm flipping furiously. So in alternative 2, Route 296 runs the same frequency as today. So you would see, so in alternative 1, you see an improvement to every 15 minutes. In alternative 2, it runs every 20 minutes, and then every 30 on the weekends.
Okay.
And actually in alternative 2, it has the same alignment as it does today.
All right. So when I go through the survey in the mix and match, the 296 is a good thing to keep. Another question that I have here is the 286 is a school. It's a route that's used a lot by school kids. I see that one. I think the 286 is the one that goes up Santa Cruz that I see daily. And is that being cut? And have you talked to the Hillview School community on the 286? What's being proposed here?
Yeah, we are doing outreach to the school. So this one is right now, it looks like the 286 runs every 40 minutes in the morning and every hour in the afternoon. So it's pretty limited. And we would be proposing an alternative 1 to just just time it with the school, one trip in the morning, 1 trip in the afternoon. But in alternatives 2 and 3, we would propose to keep it. Oh yeah, in all 3 alternatives, we were proposing to just limit it to peak only service, like 1 trip in the morning and 1 trip in the evening. And it's a low ridership peak only route today. And yes, we are doing outreach to schools. We have a Safe Routes to Schools meeting presentation tomorrow, and are engaging with, trying to get in touch with all the schools to get their feedback.
Oh, okay, and it may be that some of the people on our Safe Routes to School subcommittee may be interested in helping with the outreach on that, because I don't think we want people to be surprised by changes to the route to Hillview. And let's see, since this is the one that is supposed to, this is my last question here, actually 1.25. I like the better connection to the community colleges. Those are like, community college students really, often depend on transit. So that's a really excellent thing to do. Last, this is the alternative that's supposed to have the better connections to Caltrain and BART. So is there anything that you can explain about how the improved Caltrain connections would work here? In this option?
Sure. In this option, we would be prioritizing connections and expanding service to several Caltrain stations, Redwood City, I believe Hillsdale, up at Millbrae, and as well as like the Colma BART and the Daly City BART station. So the details, the scheduling details have not yet been worked out, but first trying to understand what are the travel patterns right now between our systems. So using data to kind of help answer that question, and yeah, then kind of working backwards from there. So we've got, it's a mix of BART and Caltrain, better connections to the key Caltrain stations, not to all of them. We can't.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. So to the extent that there's anything that makes sense to do from the timing with like with especially Redwood City Caltrain that gets more service than Menlo Park, that would be helpful. And anything looking forward into what can be done with the fairs in terms of what's happening regionally would also be appreciated. That is all of my comments. I see that Bill has a hand.
Thank you, Dina. Christy, I'm just at a higher level. Once you make the decisions on laying out a new set of alternatives, do you have the ability to collect data and then make adjustments as you go, or is this set in stone for the next 5 years?
No, sir. That's a great question. So many things I think I should mention but forget. No, this is our job. This is a single service planning study right now. These are done every 5 to 10 years, but we are constantly iterating on our services, and buses have rubber tires and can be moved. And so, yeah, we are looking at data. We're going to try things out. And I think, we want to make sure we're constantly monitoring things and taking a look at where our routes go. So yeah, we change our buses 3 times a year. And typically our fall schedule change is our school related schedule change, where we start all of our school routes. And I'll just note that if 286 serves Hillview, we have other services as well that serve that school. And, not just the 286, there are other school trippers. I don't have them on the slide, but just wanted to point that out. So yeah, no, we constantly are, looking at our service, and, like the fall service plan is our school focused run. Then we'll have a January service plan that, where we sometimes will tweak other routes. And then a June one where we turn all of our school routes off.
Okay. And then last question related, I don't understand the funding of
Sure.
Samtrans, but I can imagine the ridership as one funding source. And are you trying to maximize that source of income, the ridership?
So that's a great question. Our ridership is a very small percentage of our revenue. I think pre-pandemic, we were, at maybe 9% of our budget or our revenue was our fares, unlike Caltrain, which is like 70%. So we're lucky. We're not actually that dependent on our rider fare revenue. We are heavily reliant on sales tax revenue. We get money from the state. We get some federal money. we're always trying to maximize ridership, right? You know, I think our eyes aren't towards fare revenue necessarily, because that's not the most important piece of our budget. We want those riders, right? And so, but yeah, it is, yeah.
That helped. Okay, thank you for that.
Sure.
Do we have any more questions from members of the commission or members of the public? Since I am not seeing any, if you have an inspiration, we can go back, but we can move on to the last alternative.
Awesome, thanks, and thanks for sticking with me. Okay, alternative 3, thank you. This is our coverage alternative. So this alternative looks at providing the most coverage throughout the county. And really, the big highlights here are we're trying to explore microtransit as a means to provide coverage. So you can see on the map on the right, we have 4 orange zones, one in Millbrae, one in Foster City, one in East Palo Alto, one in Half Moon Bay. And I'll just take a second to talk about microtransit. It's essentially on-demand public transit operated with smaller vehicles in a zone, in a geofenced area, using an app-based technology like Uber and Lyft. And it's really kind of that simple. You're in a zone, you request a trip using your phone. There would be an app for it. Or if you don't have a phone, you could call the call center and you say, I want to go from here to here. And the system delivers an estimated time, wait time. And then you say, book the trip. You can watch in real time where the vehicle is. And it's not a good fit everywhere. We had a pilot in Pacifica in 2019, 2020. And, you know, we learned a lot there. We learned how it felt operationally. We learned what our customers, what they liked about it, what they didn't. We learned it's not really the greatest first last mile connector unless you have a lot of vehicles in service. Because you're a function of your service area and your vehicles. Your wait time is a function of your service zone size and how many vehicles you have and how long it takes to get from A to B. So it's not great for school trips. A lot of kids using it, booking it all at the same time, going to the same place, not great. It is good for when you're trying to serve an area that maybe doesn't have the best pedestrian infrastructure or is low density, like the coast. We think the coast side, Half Moon Bay, is really a good place. We like East Palo Alto, again, just for those local trips, to see if that's a way to bring additional coverage to that community. We've got Foster City identified, and what's paired with some of these are really straightened out routes underneath. So it layers on top to provide additional coverage when we are making changes to the route network, the fixed route network. And we've got Millbrae identified. It's a very small zone in Millbrae. You know, Millbrae is kind of our first last mile pilot. We don't, Millbrae is a great hub for us. It's, got 3 major providers coming in there with BART, Caltrain, and Samtrans. But, we have to keep that zone small so the user experience doesn't suffer. You can go to the next slide. We can just hone in on alternative 3, South County. So this alternative is actually my favorite for South County because we're doing, I think, the best for East Palo Alto, which is the community I think that we need to serve really well. So we have a combined 280, 281 serving East Palo Alto to both Redwood City on one end and the Palo Alto Caltrain on the other, with an extension all the way into the Stanford Oval. So 1-seat ride, which is something we heard from our stakeholders that they wanted, and running it every 15 minutes, which is great. We have a microtransit zone, as I mentioned. What I don't like about this alternative is the 296 and the 270 both end at the VA. And so we've already heard from people that that's not our operators and workforce. That's just not forcing a transfer to microtransit isn't actually what microtransit's good for. So I don't think that's going to stick, but give us your feedback. And in this alternative, we have a 291, which is going on the east side of 101, east side of the ECR, serving that industrial area in San Carlos. So kind of connecting from Redwood City, Caltrain, down industrial, on the west side of 101, on the east side of El Camino. And lastly, the 295, which is our sort of local feeder route, retains service into Redwood City in this alternative. And the ECR is remains largely unchanged from today. It is, goes from Palo Alto to Daly City, but we would try to tighten up the schedule a bit in this alternative. And how about I whip through the last few slides and then we could just open it up for general discussion. Oh, and look at that. Now I have my ECR slides. I sure do not know the slide deck. So we can actually just kind of flip through these. I've already gone through them. So you can go to the next one. Next one. Thank you. So stacking the alternatives against one another, we see that there are strengths and weaknesses for each one of them. We think alternative one that delivers the most frequent network would probably result in the most ridership gains. If we're looking back at other COAs like Reimagine, frequency tends to move the needle on ridership. We think alternative two does a really good job leveraging transportation investments. And alternative three does a good job with midday and weekend service, and which is something our riders really wanted, and does a good job getting service to new places and using, microtransit as a means to do so. Next slide. So last few slides, we are taking public input through the end of May. And, we have lots of information on our website, reimaginesamtrans.com. We've got detailed route alternative information in multiple languages. We have our survey up. We're doing a lot of social media events, Q&A sessions. We're meeting with stakeholder groups such as yourself. We actually have 3 presentations tonight at 7 p.m. There's 2 of us, there are 2 other people doing 2 other presentations tonight right now. And we are actually going out in person, talking to the public in limited in-person pop-up events. And we had our South County public meeting tonight at 5:30. It was recorded, it'll be up on our website, and we are having our last public meeting next week that's focusing on North County. Lastly, you can take our survey, reimaginesamtrans.com/alternatives. Survey will be open through the end of May, early June. And as I mentioned, not just one alternative will be selected. We will be taking pieces of each of these alternatives. So your detailed feedback matters. Please don't be shy. We do want to hear from you. So, all right. I think you've heard enough from me. Really thankful for your time and anxious to hear about what you think about alternative 3.
Okay, so does anybody in addition to me have thoughts on alternative 3? And I will give other people the opportunity to talk first. And if not, if people are still thinking, then I will share a couple things and then take other questions and comments that people have as they have them. I'm glad to hear that you have been getting less love for the truncated 296, because that's a useful route as it is. I am quite curious to see how that Millbrae microtransit will go, because I know that that's something that community has been interested in. So it'll be interesting to see how it will be used. And also, like, a lot of the things that people do and where people live in Millbrae is not right by the train station. So I'm curious about like how that will work or not work. In terms of the feature of this to import into the other ones, I think the hours of service might be of interest, particularly with equity and people who have jobs and trip needs that are not 9 to 5. I think that may be a useful thing, like all the way through, and also might be a good fit for the post-COVID world where maybe people are traveling in a broader range of times throughout the day anyway. And lastly, I have a question about what kind of feedback you are getting in East Palo Alto about the microtransit alternatives for East Palo Alto. And that is the end of my questions and comments on this.
Thank you. I have not done as much outreach this round as I have last round. I have only, we had the South County meeting tonight. Ryan, I don't recall Microtrans.
I can-
did it, yeah,
I
you
can
answer
sub
that?
in real
Yeah,
quick. Yeah,
cool.
we've been able to do a lot of pop-ups actually with CBO Nuestra Casa in the area, hitting some different areas, and there's a lot of interest in the concept. I think a lot of people are excited. I think people understand that it's sort of the service it could help with sort of those connections. So I think there's a lot of interest. I think we have heard that we'll need to make sure that we explain it well, and that the public outreach, if we do go with that concept, is sufficient and sort of reaches all the levels. Because we have heard that there are language barriers, and just want to make sure that if we do go with that, that everybody would be able to access and sort of know how to use it. But there is a lot of excitement. I think people have been, part of it's that they don't know what it is, so they're asking more questions and learning about what it is, and other people seem to be interested. I know. So yeah, it does seem like it has piqued people's interest in the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think the thing that I would suggest on that is to, and this San Francisco may already be doing this, to prepare to iterate on that if it's working well or not, because there's a lot of people in East Palo Alto that really depend on transit. And so if it's working, it could be great. And if it's not working, that it could be really less than great and leave people without what they need. So if that can be done, like looking closely and making sure that people have the service that they need after you roll it out, that would be very helpful. Does anybody else have any comments or questions before we look for comments from members of the public and move on? I am not seeing any more hands from commissioners. Are there any comments from members of the public? I'm also not seeing any. So with that, I would want to really thank the guest experts from Samtrans for doing the really robust research and outreach on Reimagine Samtrans, and looking forward to what the output is in terms of a redesigned bus network. So thank you very much, Christy and Ryan.
Great. Thank you so much for having us. And I will just plug, if anybody wants to take our survey, that would be great. reimaginesamtrans.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you all.
All
Bye-bye.
right, thank you. All right, good night. All right, so having done that agenda item, all right, I see that there is a blurb in here for a motion, but I'm not sure, unless anybody has anything that they want to do a motion on, we may not need one because we just gave feedback that Samtrans was capturing.
That's correct, Chair. I don't think a motion is necessary in this case.
All right.
We can move on.
With that, we can move on and get an update on, as item E4, get an update and provide feedback on Ravenswood Avenue Bike Lane Gap Closure Project as part of the Ravenswood Avenue Resurfacing Project. Kevin, can you introduce this item and what is being brought back to us regarding this project?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to go ahead and provide a brief remark, just provide some history on this. I do have the same presentation, so if there's any commissioners or maybe the whole commission wants to listen to the presentation again, I'd be more than happy to do so as well. But really, this was an item that staff presented to the commission back in March. And thanks to Commissioner Kirsch, we recognized that the staff recommendation at the time was not comprehensive enough in terms of outlining the final layout for the staff recommendation. So as a result of that, we wanted to bring this item back to the commission once again the staff recommendation will remain the same. And as a result of that, if there is a desire to listen to the staff, the presentation again, I certainly be more than happy to do so. If not, I'll entertain any questions or perhaps the general public would like to make a comment as well. We'll essentially go through the same procedure and hopefully close this item with motion to revote on the staff recommendation. So with that, I will go ahead and ask the chair if the chair or the commission would entertain the presentation, or if you want to go ahead and skip the presentation and move on to clarifying questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if I understand this correctly, the reason why this is being brought back is there was one commissioner who, when they understood what the final choices were, said that they would have voted differently and therefore wanted it brought back. So if that is the main change, then unless anybody else has anything else that they want to ask or comment, if anybody wants to have the presentation again, we can do it. But if not, actually raise a hand if you want the presentation again. All right, I am not seeing any hands. And then do you have any comments or questions before we do the revote? All right, I see Commissioner Kirsch's hand.
Yeah, if this is the time to comment on this, this is my last meeting, and I'm just going to tell you how I really feel about this. I think this is a terrible recommendation, and let me tell you why. I thought complete streets meant that the city has adopted complete street. I thought it meant when we have an opportunity, like a new paving, to bring a part of a portion of a street up to a complete street standard, then we would do that. And here, we have the most dangerous crossing in the city, maybe the crossing that has the most volume. It's just a matter of time before somebody gets hurt or killed at that crossing. And what we're doing here is we're not making it safer. We're saying that it's more important that we don't have cars wait an extra 15 seconds. That's the most important thing. It's not important to make the crossing safer. It's more important that we keep the level of service as high as we can for the automobile driver. And to me, that just undercuts the whole notion of complete streets. It undercuts this notion of Vision Zero. To me, it discredits this whole climate action plan, because how are we supposed to reduce vehicle miles traveled if we don't make pedestrian access safer and make bicycle access safer? Here we have an opportunity to do it, and we're not doing it. Maybe it's political, but to me, it just completely discredits all of these notions, kind of this happy talk of Vision Zero, complete streets, climate action plan, because this is the elephant in the room, is automobile traffic. Let me make one more point. The city says they want to reduce vehicle miles traveled, I think by 15% in the next 10 years. And here, the simulation assumed, I think, an increase in traffic. And the simulation is based on, I think, pre-pandemic behavior. So here we are designing for an increase of traffic in the future when we're trying to reduce vehicle miles traveled. It makes no sense to me. Thank you.
All right. Do any other commissioners want to have any discussion of this? I have little bit. So in terms of the goal, my understanding about the VMT goal is that there isn't an adopted VMT goal. We have a 2-year work plan item to set a VMT goal. And so until that happens, it was here's a proposed goal of 25% or whatever it is that the commission works on with EQC and staff over the next couple of years. So my question as part of that project is, once we set that goal, will we be able to use that to tune the model and say, can we change our expectations for that goal once we have it? So that's a question for staff.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think once we have a goal established, it certainly is something that the city and staff will be both working towards. In this case, we, as part of that effort, will likely try to identify ways that we can solidify VMT reduction based on the type of project. So in this case, maybe land use projects or infrastructure improvement projects. It certainly, I think, at that time, we'll be able to reassess this and look at, for future projects, look at how we should evaluate projects such as this. I think Commissioner Kirsch brought up a good point about the relationship between our desire to reduce VMT versus what is actually being analyzed here. And he's absolutely right that we are using essentially the 2040 volume, which was pre-pandemic. It was the future volume that was identified in a development study. So while I unfortunately won't be able to definitively say how that process is going to evolve, I think one thing that we can be certain is that it will involve, it should involve. I just unfortunately will not be able to at this time identify or be certain how or what the final outcome of that process would look like.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, I mean, unless we're going to increase vehicle miles traveled, why don't we take this opportunity now to start working on that? To me, that's a cop-out. We have a Vision Zero goal. Unfortunately, it's out there at 2040. We have a complete streets mandate. We know this is a dangerous crossing. Why don't we do something about it? Is it just political? Is it just, no, we have to keep level of service high. We're going to risk the lives of pedestrians so that we don't inconvenience an auto driver by 15 seconds. That's what we're saying. That is what we're saying to the public. And I think if this is the way we're going to move this project forward, then we should just, the city should just disavow complete streets. We're not moving in that direction. I think it's a cop-out to wait until we have a specific vehicle miles traveled goal reduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll make one more comment and then put it, hand it to Lydia. So I agree that this should be made safer, and I think that one thing that we've wanted to do and had prioritized in the past from a vehicle miles traveled perspective and have been pushing for several years is to bundle the Caltrain undercrossing with the complete streets connections to it. And city council finally agreed that that project should be looked at in that way that we've been encouraging, and hopefully we will be able to get that built. And there are several other things, and given how much this piece, and there's probably going to be development in the area, I think we're going to get another bite at the apple, and in not too long. So I hear that, and other commissioners may have different opinions, but I think my personal opinion is we might win that in a few years, and we won't win that.
What, I guess I don't understand the politics behind it, but I don't, to me, the undercrossing is 20 years away. I mean, the separating the tracks and the street. So yes, I get it that there's political considerations, but here we have a dangerous crossing and we can fix it. And we're choosing not to. And who's to say that we're going to have another bite at the apple? Why don't we do this? Why don't we fix it now? And if it's not working out, then undo it. It's just pain on the street, I think.
All right. I think you're right in principle. So I think you're right in principle. So if we like, let's see where everybody else is. Lydia, officially.
Yes. So I just want to say, first of all, that I honor your passion, and I'm sorry this is your last meeting. I didn't realize it was coming up so quickly.
That's why I'm, this
Yes.
might as well go out flaming, right?
Right, exactly. So, go for it, all those things. Looking at this, I feel like one thing that keeps on coming up again and again for when projects come to the commission is that we always want to do more, right? We're looking at the specific tasks that we're given or the specific thing we're supposed to comment on. And then, we inevitably see like, well, what about that? Or can we do that, right? Like, and I think it's good because we are thinking out of the immediate borders of the given project. I mean, I think, this intersection, is a kludge, right? We've got the flags, we've got the lights. It's just, I don't think there's an easy fix for it because of the, the number of the cars that are coming through. We'd have to look at the, the intersection with El Camino. There's just not a lot of time for cars to merge before the intersection because you've got, all those lanes coming together, the train tracks, and then the intersection, and then the merge afterwards. Going the other way is problematic for bicyclists who don't have, bike lane to hang on to there. And then, where are you introducing the bikes? There's just a lot going on. And I don't think we can say, looking at it, I just don't see like an obvious solution to this, aside from what Adina's saying, right? Like, the grade separation is going to make everything, is going to give us all those options to separate the traffic, right? Which we don't have now. And right now it's just a huge jam. And I know that, we looked at in the city looked at in the 2005 bicycle and pedestrian plan, right? How do you fix the intersection at El Camino and Ravenswood to make it better? And it involves a lot, right? So, and maybe all those calculations were also based on LOS, and it's annoying to see LOS come back over and over again. But I honestly think in this case, it's just part of the puzzle. It's not the only thing. So that's my take on the situation.
All right, thanks. And I see that Commissioner Cibrian has a hand.
I want to mostly just echo what I think I heard Lydia and Adina say. I also appreciate like the safety factor. I agree it's a problematic intersection. But it's like, as I looked at the options, I think that it doesn't seem like it's a way to have it all right now in a tidy little package. And so I would rather make it safer right now and keep it on our radar, and at each opportunity, make it even more. So I'm in favor of what you guys just said, just less eloquently.
All right, thanks. And by the way, just to clarify, when I was talking about the future, I wasn't talking about the grade separations where it's hard to say when it will be funded. The project where we've been advocating for it and it's prioritized is the undercrossing at Middle, and bundling the undercrossing with Middle with complete streets on Middle. And I think that actually took quite a while to get prioritized, and hopefully that will be funded soon. So at any rate, we'll take Commissioner Myers' hand.
I thought we just lost out on the grant to do that money for the Middle underpass, so it's kicking that can down the road years from now. Anyway, right? Isn't that what happened at the last meeting we talked about, that you told us, Kevin, that we lost the ability to get that money to start the process to get the thing that follows the thing that gets us down to the thing that puts us on the thing that we've already been waiting 18 years for. So that's not coming anytime soon anyway. Listen, I'd be fine with Bill and say, you know what, dude, fine, merge it all down to one lane. Let's not be disingenuous though and say that it's 15 seconds worth of time we're adding. We're going to back traffic all the way up to the high school at times if you do that. But whatever. So we do it, people go around. If you think that's going to make it safer, I'm not really sure it does or not. I think it'll make people more aggressive because they know how tight that place is going to be, and that possibly you're going to get people maybe run over worse there by doing that. But it's paint. We could remove it. Hopefully we don't see anybody get run over in proving the point. But I hear what you're saying. We should maybe look at it from the complete streets perspective, and it's an opportunity since we're going to start doing it now that we could do it. So, I mean, I could be persuaded to vote that way if you wanted to put forth, if we're talking about putting forth a motion to change what we had already voted on.
Commissioner Kirsch.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I think you all know, and as Mike just said, you know, projects, we think they're going to happen and then they don't happen. They get pulled out from under us. We think we might get another bite at the apple. We may not. And whatever we do now may be there for 10 or 20 years. Mike, I disagree with your notion that it's going to make drivers aggressive and maybe kill somebody somewhere else. I think a pedestrian, it just seems to me a matter of time before a pedestrian is killed on this intersection. You got 4 lanes of traffic. They're speeding to merge. It's crazy. I know, I think all of you have probably crossed this intersection. I have many times. It's highly stressful and we can deal with it. We could try to do something on a temporary trial basis. And if it doesn't work, then change it back. I think we should trial something that'll put bike lanes in both directions and make that, put a refuge in that crossing. And either, you know, make it just 1 lane westbound. Just try it. And if it doesn't work, fine, change it back.
Mm-hmm. And we do have it. This will come to City Council, yes?
I would say it depends on the outcome of tonight's meeting. With the initial, so this project originated because we had an opportunity from the resurfacing project, and you know, so as a result of the resurfacing project, we decided to retain a consultant, a transportation consultant, to do the operation analysis, which then informed staff's recommendation by looking at all of the parameters that have been mentioned: level of service, queuing, time, queue length, etc. If the final recommendation does not impact the resurfacing schedule, which currently is set to be going out to bid, it's in the design phase right now. It's going to go out to bid probably late summer-ish. So construction-wise, I think we're aiming for late summer, maybe the fall, depending on the schedule. When the item came to the commission in March, that voting does not require this going back to the city council, because we can. It's, in this case, we're maintaining the curb-to-curb distance, minimal impact to the traffic operation, and therefore we can go in and install the bike lane on the eastbound direction. If tonight's desire is to go the other way, then I think just kind of looking at what is being, it will certainly impact the schedule, because we will likely need to go back to the city council to make sure that and kind of outline what a different recommendation would do to the resurfacing project, because as I mentioned before, the bike lane was sort of, for lack of a word, piggyback off the resurfacing project. So if the recommendation that's coming out of the commission tonight is potentially going to delay that project, then we will have to go to the city council.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much for explaining that. I see that Commissioner Meyer has a hand, and then unless we have more conversation, we can look for a motion. Commissioner Meyer.
So I just remind everybody too, that like one of the best things that ever happened to that intersection that nobody ever wanted to touch was when Jesse Corone had the chutzpah to not allow the left off of Alma onto Ravenswood. But also at the same time, one of the best things he did was to stop the right turn onto Alma off of Ravenswood. We stopped that for a while, and we should probably not have that happen as well, because it's another interaction that causes the problem of people going straight. But we took the opportunity to do that. Nobody thought we could do that. We put those little pylons out there, and that's been, what has that been, 7 years now that we've done that for as a temporary thing out there. So why don't we try something like Bill is saying, and try to make it, see if that does make it more safe there.
I second Mike's thought. I know it's not.
Sorry. Okay, I see that Commissioner Lee has a hand.
Yeah, I don't actually know what's being proposed, Bill. I don't know what you foresee by reducing everything to one.
So Lydia, there's two things. I would like to see bike lanes in both directions, and I would like to see the crossing made safer. It would be made safer if we had 3 total lanes, and it would be made safer if there was a pedestrian refuge in the middle of the, halfway across the pedestrian crossing, a refuge. That's what I would like to see. I'm just saying, maybe the staff can include that as one of their options. The report had the concept A, which they shouldn't have had because that wasn't going to get approved. I don't know why they wasted time doing that. They only gave us option B, really, as an option. So I would like to see a redo, another option where we include what Mike and I were just saying, a temporary pilot where westbound is reduced to 1 lane. We have a pedestrian refuge in the crossing, and we have bike lanes in both directions. And just on a trial with pylons, and if it doesn't work, it goes away.
Yeah, I still don't see how you're going to get to 1 lane. I mean, definitely going westbound, dropping bicyclists off after or right in front of the train tracks is a terrible idea. I think I don't want that bike lane to end at that intersection.
But there's no bike lane there right now.
There's no bike lane right now, which is actually better because the traffic and the bikes merge before you get to the train tracks, which is actually safer from my point of view. I've biked along there many times.
Well, how about if we had 1 lane and no bike lane? Just it's a shared, it's a sharo there. No bike lane, 1 lane and a sharo with a sharo.
Isn't that kind of what it is right now?
No, it's 2 lanes. It's 2 lanes in each direction.
But one of those lanes is a sharo.
Yes, and I'm just saying to Lydia, if she's worried about having a bike lane and right at the train tracks, then don't have a bike lane. Just have sharos in 1 westbound lane. Just 1 westbound lane with a sharo.
That then splits into 3.
Well, Lydia, right now there's nothing there now. It splits into 3 now.
Right.
I mean, what does it do? I take that all the time. You just get thrown into that intersection.
Right. So nothing would change essentially going westbound.
Well, I'm just saying instead of having 2 westbound travel lanes, just have 1 to make it a safer. The whole point for me is to make it a safer crossing. Why do we need to have 2 westbound traffic lanes?
Have 1 really, really super wide westbound lane, right?
I just don't know why we need 2 westbound lanes. That's all.
Yeah, but going to a sharo in a really complicated situation like that, I think will make it relatively safer for a very small number of people. Like right now, the people that use it are relatively experienced cyclists, and I don't think that would change with that improvement. I think at this point, I would like to, let's see, I see that Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Severin, which of your hands are current?
Mine's new.
Great, Commissioner Severin.
Although it seems like you might just be tidying us up, but I just want to understand something because maybe I don't understand what sharrows are. Partly, I feel like the way that it sits right now, that bike lane, that lane of traffic that is also for bikes, it seems like that feeds pretty directly into either of the places I would want to go when I hit ECR, without having to cross over any cars. Versus if it's a bike lane and then all those cars are in one through lane and they all then have to figure out whether they want to go right, left, or straight, I feel like that would be a bigger problem for me. And so that is where I'm maybe not understanding what sharrows are, because I feel like sharrows is that thing where I travel in the lane with the cars, and maybe that length of green lane, in that length of lane, in order to be safer, maybe we just like, it's a, like cars can go there, but it gets more green paint. Like it makes it clearer to drivers that they're sharing that lane with bikes, like, you know, in an extra special clear way of somehow. Anyway, but the way it runs right now, I feel like reducing the traffic lanes to one and then having them all just fan out on the other side of the tracks seems more concerning to me than the way it sits right now. But like, maybe I don't understand the sharrow thing.
Maybe what we could all do is, if you all are worried about the 2 lanes to 1 lane, or the bicycles, I understand your point, but so maybe, is there a way to just, we have this very dangerous pedestrian crossing. Can we create a refuge in the middle so people have a shot at getting across without getting killed? I mean, it's just so dangerous now. If you haven't crossed it lately, well, now I think traffic's lower, but it's just so dangerous and so stressful when there's a lot of traffic. Anything that we can do to make that crossing safer, rather than just saying we can't do anything because we'll inconvenience the car driver.
Any possibility of like a city funded crossing guard during particularly busy times of day? Because it turns out a lot of kids get to Hillview via that intersection. So maybe the Safe Routes wants to look at a crossing guard for that.
Well, that's connecting the Caltrain, the whole city complex. I mean, that's used all day long.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's a good, unless you had a full-time guard there all the time, I don't see that as a good option.
Right.
You're talking about the refuge at El Camino, putting the refuge in at El Camino?
No. I'm talking about, I'm sorry, Adina, the crossing at Alma across Ravenswood, that crossing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, where you go from, say, the library, you want to get to Caltrain, you cross right there, that very busy, you got to cross 4 lanes. I think they used to have flags there. Now maybe there's a flasher.
There's a flasher.
It's one of the highest volume crossings and one of the most dangerous in the city. And my disappointment is that we're not taking this opportunity to address it.
Right. And unfortunately, I haven't been persuaded that there's a way to make it all the way better right now. So would like a motion from somebody to do something so we can move ahead with the decision one way or another. Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Lee, you have a hand? Are you muted?
Commissioner Lee, you're muted.
Sorry. Can we look at the motion that passed last time? Because I believe there was a specific request to investigate a pedestrian refuge in the middle there as part of the motion. And I also remember proposing like to look at like a raised crosswalk there, and I'm not sure whether that got anywhere, but I think a lot of us last time around were saying, hey, what else can we do to make this better, short of reconfiguring all the lanes there?
Maybe Kevin, is there any update on those two issues? Have you looked into that? Is there room to create a refuge? Can you do a raised crossing there?
Right, yeah, thank you very much. So right now I have on the screen basically sharing with the commission the staff recommendation. So going back to the points that both commissioners mentioned. So we have reached out to the fire district. We're still waiting for coordination on a raised crosswalk there. Ravenswood is a major fire route for the fire district. So a raised crosswalk there, it's going to present obviously a delay to their service, as well as some discomfort from drivers making right turns. We typically don't like to have the raised crosswalk at the intersection, just because you have a lot more cars making that right turn. So you're kind of going through a raised crosswalk at an angle. It's totally doable, just a little bit of a discomfort. So when it comes to that type of design, we try to avoid that. So with regard to the raised crosswalk, we're still waiting for feedback. There was another request to look at innovative striping for the westbound direction. I think it was either Commissioner Seabrian or Commissioner Lee that mentioned, can we add some green to highlight the fact that it's a share road, making sure that both drivers and bicyclists know that they are sharing the road, and that is something that we are currently exploring. We have some ideas that we are kind of exploring right now, and I'm certain that we'll be able to come up with something hopefully a little bit more innovative than what's currently out there. With regard to a refuge island, as is currently recommended, which is a bike lane on the eastbound direction, and then 4 travel lanes, and then potentially having that refuge island that Commissioner Bill Kirsch was looking for. We haven't gone down to the final design yet. So, but we have tentatively look at the dimensions there. It's going to be somewhat difficult to come up with a refuge that is. So in order for a refuge island to be effective, meaning if somebody is crossing the street, instead of doing it all at one time, you can break it up and then do it by direction. The refuge needs to be at least 2 feet wide for a pedestrian. If it's someone with a bicycle, then you need to be at least 3 to 4 feet wide. So with that in mind, and then also keeping in mind that we need a travel lane to be at least wide enough for fire trucks and garbage trucks to go through, because again, Ravenswood is one of the major east-west directions. We're not too optimistic that we'll be able to come up with a refuge island that is quote unquote usable, so to speak, or we'll be able to put a curb in. I think that much we are certain of, but we might not be. I don't think we'll be able to come up with a 2 feet wide.
Kevin, let me ask, can't you just skinny up each of the 4 lanes by 1 foot?
Yep.
In that way, there's still plenty of room for garbage trucks and fire trucks to go through. And then we'd have several feet to work with for a refuge. Why can't we do that?
Yeah, so we are already kind of doing that to get the bike lane in. So the bike lane, we wanted to make the bike lane at 5 feet wide. So we are reducing all of the travel lanes to the minimum. As a matter of fact, both the inside lane, so the lane that is going to be adjacent to the curb, are going to be slightly less than 10 feet wide already. And we're squeezing the very bottom travel lane. I believe that's already 10 feet as well. The one on the top, I think we are looking at maybe doing 11 or 10, but it does have, as you can see from the image, it does have Samtran buses running through it very frequently. So, we are still exploring. By no means am I saying that, what I'm talking about is the final. I just also want to be realistic about whether or not we can actually get a a refuge island to the extent that you are speaking of.
If I could just make one final closing comment here.
Mhm.
I drive this every day and I bicycle it most every day as well. It's when you're going eastbound, everybody speeds up as they're, going through the Alma crossing there because they know they're going to merge. So they start speeding up, and that's right as they're approaching the crosswalk. I see it all the time. It's really scary. I do it every day. Something is going to happen here, and the city, nobody's going to be happy about it. And I just wish, I can't be the only one that feels that this is a highly dangerous crossing, that we do something about it. And that we don't so what if we can we talk to the fire department and say, can you put up with a 5-second delay so that we can have maybe minimum raised crosswalk, or do something to make this safer? I can't believe we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and by no means am I saying that we already came to a conclusion with the fire district. I just wanted to inform you guys that a conversation is ongoing. It's just that I don't have a more useful update in this case. But the conversation is ongoing, and we'll continue to have that conversation. But I also just want to be realistic that we haven't reached a conclusion to that particular element. And as you mentioned with the speeding, with the bike lane in there, what we are looking at are effectively, a 10-foot, maybe a 10-foot wide travel lane, and then the other one's probably going to be a little bit less than 10. So we're hoping with the reduction of the lane width, it kind of creates the visual effect, and hopefully the drivers will slow down, and we'll continue to explore to see if there's any other traffic calming measures that we can implement as part of this project as well.
Great. Thanks for the update on the things that you are looking in terms of the things that were in the motion. Let's see. Does anybody want to bring forward a motion about this item? I am seeing a lot of silence.
I'd be
So we-
interested in I'd second something if Bill wanted to move something.
Well, I want to motion something, but I don't think it's going to hold sway with the group. I just think we have a serious problem with that crossing, and I'm really disappointed that we can't address it with this opportunity, because if we don't do it now, it's not going to happen for 5-10 years or God knows how long.
It starts with the motion, Bill.
Well, yeah. So staff recommendation is as currently presented. So
I move that the staff create a option C, which creates a refuge or in some way makes this crossing safer.
I'd second the motion.
I apologize, Commissioner Kearse. Do you mind kind of elaborate a little bit on your motion?
So Kevin, you threw a lot of, there seems to be a lot of obstacles, so I don't know what can really get done, but I'm just saying, can we have the staff come back with a concept C that addresses this, that improves the crossing at that intersection, along with the repaving?
Right. So I think, certainly with staff's recommendation that's in front of you, it minimizes the overall impact to the project overall. Certainly, I'm going to go ahead and flip over to a different slide here that kind of goes over the original concepts that we have analyzed. So the A and B, I'm going to go ahead and kind of ignore A for now. I think nobody really wants to explore that as an option. So I think concept B would be the kind of the concept that you're looking for in this case. Concept B from an eastbound perspective is pretty much what is it's the same as staff's recommendation. It's one bike lane and then 2 travel lanes. The westbound direction in this case would be the difference right here. Concept B would have a travel lane and a bike lane, and as many of the commissioners mentioned before, the bike lane would then get dropped right before Alma, and then you turn into a share road as you cross the train track. So, of course, this was one of the scenarios that we analyzed, which based on our evaluation, it does create a queuing that Commissioner Meyer was talking about, which this slide sort of demonstrated. Basically, if you look at the yellow, it's basically the queuing for concept B, which is I think the concept that you were talking about, Commissioner Kirsch. And
That's
sort of
2040 queuing? I'm sorry, Kevin, 2040 queuing? But
that's correct.
the assumption there was pre-pandemic. I mean, nobody knows what that's going to be. My argument is if we're planning for more traffic, which we're doing here, we're going to get more traffic.
Right. Yeah, and certainly I think that's an argument that you can make. I certainly would not argue against that as well. You know, from staff's perspective, traffic is increasing slowly but surely. We do anticipate the traffic to at a minimum go back to the pre-COVID scenario, which we did analyze here. And as you can see, the queuing does go back to Laurel, almost to Laurel, but not quite. So it's not impacting the intersection of Ravenswood and Laurel. And so our decision was made based on the 2040 volume, which shows how the concept B will extend the queuing compared to the other 2 scenarios.
Kevin, if I can just interject real quickly.
Yeah.
Again, 2040 assumes that we're going to change no behavior. We're not going to have e-bikes on the road. We're not going to make our cycling infrastructure safer. We're not going to have safer walking so we can get people out of the car. That's the assumption. We're building that in, and then we're planning for that. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why we're in the mess we're in today, because we just continue to plan for more cars, and so we get more cars.
Right. Yeah. And like I say, I certainly will not argue with you on that. You know, from staff's perspective, we are looking at a scenario where, you know, it's consistent with some of the assumptions that has been built in. You can certainly make an argument that, you know, what happens when you have a more connected network, perhaps cars would go down. You can also hear the other side of the argument, meaning, you know, there's going to be more electric cars, more autonomous vehicles, so cars will go up. Again, I think that's a whole different conversation for another day. But in terms of what staff determined to be sort of a reasonable assumption in this case is try to be consistent with the assumption that there will be some growth in the future, that we are not expecting cars to essentially remain the same compared to existing. So, and you know, we could make the argument whether or not that's a valid assumption or whether or not what's causing the increase. But at this moment in time, I think there's enough evidence to believe that there will be an increase. And that's why we decided to use the future volume.
But I think, doesn't the city want to reduce VMT? I mean, isn't that the goal?
That is certainly the goal. That is certainly the goal.
So how do we achieve that goal if we just keep planning for more automobiles? How do we do that?
Well, I don't
I'm
know
just
if I
saying.
necessarily. Right.
I know, Adina. I know. I understand. This is my last meeting. You know, you don't have to put up with me anymore, but I'm just trying to challenge these assumptions. If we're trying to get to a complete street city, let's build a complete street city. And we have an opportunity to improve a very dangerous crossing. That's all I'm looking for here.
Yeah.
If there's any way we can do that.
No, yeah, certainly. But I would say from a staff perspective, you know, I think there is evidence out there that there will just be an increase in vehicle volume. The population will continue growth. As you see along El Camino, we have a lot of residential units in the M2 area. You know, while we certainly strive to have a VMT reduction, and you know, it is a goal of the city to do so. You know, at this moment in time, the analysis we still need to look at with the assumption that there will be some increase in vehicle volume, either due to autonomous vehicle or just due to a simple fact that there'll be more people living in Menlo Park and working in Menlo Park and using the roadway on the surface as is. So again, I'm not arguing on the merit of that assumption. I'm simply pointing out that the assumption being made here, I think, is a valid one to assume that there will be increase in vehicle volume in the future.
And I think that we have a number of other projects in the queue that we can do some things that are VMT reducing in something that doesn't have the level of complication that we have here, that we can move forward in the next few years that I hope to see and to vote for, though I think not this one. And I did hear, in terms of the question about looking at a pedestrian, like a raised crosswalk and pedestrian refuge. I don't think we need to vote on that because that was in our previous motion and staff said what they were looking into. So I don't think that we need to move that again.
Well, I was, my motion was asking staff to come back with a concept C that would show us a pedestrian refuge or a raised crosswalk after they've had discussions with the fire, Menlo Fire and others.
Yeah, can staff do that? Do we need to vote on that, or can staff just bring us back what based on the previous motion, can staff bring back what the designs are that have been put together based on what was in the previous motion and the conversations with the fire department?
Yeah, I mean, I will certainly keep the commission apprised of any update with the fire district in terms of the raised crosswalk. At this moment in time, I would be I just don't want to make a false promise that anything could happen there.
Yeah, Adina, the reason I put it in a motion is because I feel like if we don't put the staff's feet to the fire to bring us something back, we're not going to get it. We're just not going to get it.
And it's moved and seconded, so it has to be voted on either way.
All right. Great. So you're saying, so if the motion is bring back what the staff is working on in terms of the options for a raised crosswalk and or pedestrian refuge.
And it could be on a trial basis. I would add on a trial basis so that if it doesn't work, whatever's brought back, if it can be done on a trial basis, and if it doesn't work, it can be removed and the original infrastructure can be reinstated.
Okay, that sounds good. Can staff, does that make sense to you? And if so, can we get some help in a roll call?
Yeah, I think so. I think we have a motion and a second. Is Commissioner Kirsch, are you expecting sort of the staff to return back to the commission with an item? Because I mean, what it sounds to me like is that basically you're advocating for no, I'm sorry, not advocating, but you're looking for something like a concept B, which is currently not staff's recommendation.
Well, I just want to see a safer crossing. That's all I really want to see out of this. And I would like to see the staff return, since we have this opportunity,
right?
You're going to repave this section, bring back an option that shows that creates a safer pedestrian crossing, however you do it. And so that we can look at it, vote on it, whatever we do, a comment on it. I just feel like if we don't push to have the staff do that, we're not going to get anything.
Right. Yeah. And you know, any recommendation that the commission made tonight, I think it goes without saying that we'll look at everything we can to make the crossing as safe as possible through any means. The only reservation I have is that the motion that you're presenting is essentially concept B, because concept B is the only concept that will allow a refuge island to be wide enough or maybe not concept B, but concept B in nature, meaning you have one westbound travel lane only. That's really the only option at this point that would present the opportunity to have a refuge island that is wide enough to serve its true purpose. And that is not a concept at this moment in time that staff is recommending. So, while I understand your desire for staff to come back with the recommendation, what I'm saying is we did. That's basically what concept B is, and I'm not recommending that. So if that's the desire of Commissioner Kirsch, then maybe your motion then is essentially to recommend concept B in this case.
How about recommend concept B on a
Right.
trial basis so that if it turns out not to work out, it can be undone?
Right, and so that with that motion in mind, then that goes back to what I was saying earlier in terms of the subsequent next step. That just means that we do have to present this option to the city council to make sure and to kind of get the final buy-in, to get the final approval, because it will impact the resurfacing project.
I think
Does
this
that-
is a good
in
thing.
terms of the timeline.
This would be a good thing to bring back to city council, because I think this is going to spark a debate that the city needs to have about really what are we trying to do here? Do we want to be a pedestrian friendly, bicycle friendly city or not? And I think it would be a good debate to have. And maybe, the council decides they're going to go with, they'll keep the crossing the way it is and not improve it. But I think it's a debate that should be had at city council level.
I want to clarify with staff, is that is the only thing that would improve the pedestrian crossing that, like you had suggested, like a raised crosswalk, and is the only way to improve the pedestrian crossing by going down to one lane, one travel lane?
I don't believe so. I mean, I think staff's current recommendation, it's improving the crossing as is. It's definitely, in terms of comparing the existing condition out there, it is being improved. And I say that because now instead of crossing the entire curb to curb distance, we have a 5-foot bike lane. So now the travel lanes are being reduced. So, we're introducing elements that will slow down the cars that are passing through this crosswalk. At the same time, we'll be able to kind of materialize the existing median out there. Right now, it's just a rubber median. We'll make it a permanent feature. So that way, those are all elements that we're looking to kind of serve as a traffic calming effect. We'll also look at the intersection corners to see if we can do some additional bulb outs or tighten up the curb a little bit more, just to kind of create those visual effects. Again, I think we'll do everything we can to make the crossing safer. And I think with staff's current recommendation, it will be safer compared to what's out there right now. I think what Commissioner Kirsch is alluded to is essentially kind of go beyond that, creating something that is, in his point of view, even safer than what is staff's current recommendation for pedestrians.
Okay, so now I don't understand the motion anymore. So if Commissioner Kirsch is saying the motion includes, changing to one travel lane, Commissioner Kirsch, is that part of your motion?
No, my motion, no, it doesn't. No, it's not necessarily that. My motion is just to make that crossing safer. And Kevin, I appreciate what you just said about, slowing traffic and potentially making it safer. But, the real problem is that you have two cars coming in each direction. And sometimes you're crossing and that car that's on the very outside doesn't see the pedestrian. And it's just so dicey to cross. I'm sure you've crossed this thing. You know how dangerous it is. And so I don't think this concept that staff is recommending is going to really make any improvement to the safety of crossing that intersection.
Right.
Any meaningful safety to crossing. If we could make this a safe crossing intersection, again, we're trying to encourage people to walk and get out of their cars. And we have to do this piece by piece in this city because we're not going to do a grand network all at once. So we have to piece it all together. And here's an opportunity to, to get this crossing safe. It ties our city together. That's why I'm passionate about it. It just seems to me a no-brainer.
Yeah, no, trust me, I certainly appreciate the passion, and this project was something that sort of stemmed from conversations that staff and you and former Commissioner Weiner had talked about, sort of coming to fruition. I guess the last words that I'll say is that the staff's current recommendation, we believe it does make the crossing safer compared to what's out there right now. If the direction from Commissioner Kirsch is to make it more safe, then really the only option we have at this point is to go beyond staff's recommendation, which will be concept B, because again, there's just not enough real estate out there unless we start reducing travel lanes.
Well, Kevin, could we talk to the fire, Menlo Fire?
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
Because here's the thing. I don't want to see somebody injured or die at this intersection. If that happens, then we're going to have to call out Menlo Fire. If we can save some lives and injury here, then they don't have to come out. So that's one less trip for them. So yes, It may slow them down 5 seconds, but it also may avoid serious injury or somebody getting killed at this intersection. So maybe if there can be some kind of raised crosswalk, maybe it doesn't make sense, but.
Yeah, no, we'll continue to have conversation with the fire district, but the thing that I do want to point out is that the motion does need to let staff know whether or not we're going with a 4-lane travel lane versus a 3-lane travel lane. And I think that's what it ultimately comes down to. We'll continue to have conversation with the fire district about the raised crosswalk. It is by no means a done deal. But with the recommendation from the commission, I do hope that we have a sort of a clear vision in terms of the obviously the eastbound bike lane. I think we all agree it will be part of the recommendation. But ultimately, the number of travel lanes, going with 4 travel lane or going with 3 travel lane, I think that should be part of the recommendation.
Okay, so here my motion then is to go to the 3 travel lanes.
Right.
And make the crosswalk safer in whatever way you can with the 3 travel lanes. And if that has to go to city council, that's probably a good thing, because I think this needs to be debated, and maybe they'll overthrow it, but maybe my motion can be the 3 travel lanes on a trial basis, such that if it doesn't work out or proves untenable, then we can restore the 4 travel lanes.
So is Commissioner Kirsch, are you not comfortable with staff's current recommendation of 4 travel lanes with the bike?
I'm not comfortable with it. Because I don't think it's going to make that intersection safer.
Well,
Commissioner Lee?
So since we're revisiting this fully now, can we walk through what bicyclists are doing here on going westbound on Ravenswood? Because we're keeping the configuration of the lanes going eastbound essentially the same, right? With the addition of a bike lane there, correct? So
right.
Going westbound, if you're a bicyclist, you're coming along, you've got your bike lane until let's see, whatever that street is.
That's Alma Lane.
Alma, right? And so in the proposal, in the sort of concept B plus that Bill is proposing we revisit, you would drop into, there would be 1 lane that would have sharrows on it for everybody after Alma, right? Is that right?
Well, sharrows or a bike lane that could then terminate and give the cyclists and drivers enough time to orient themselves. I mean, right now when I ride that, I'm shunted way over to the right. And if somebody's is going to turn right on El Camino, they still have to cut in front of me. And so it's dangerous now.
Right. Yeah. No. Okay. So let's take just for argument's sake right now, let's take the bike lane out, because I feel like we've I think Jackie and I and other people have also expressed hesitancy about having to merge right in front of the train tracks. So let's just assume that we're merging right at Alma. Okay. So we're coming along Alma, we merge with the single track, there's a single lane of bikes and cars going all the way through. And then after the, right after this corner, which is, what is that? That's a road there. Before the train tracks, there's a road, right?
Yes, that's
Garwood?
the name kind of escaped me right now, so sorry. Let me.
The one that goes in front of back of Kepler's.
Right. So my apologies. That's actually the Alma Lane. The one before was Noel.
Noel,
So yeah.
So bicyclists would be in the same lane with cars from Noel and then Alma and then whatever. Is that Alma though then? Isn't that Alma?
It's Alma Lane and Alma Street. Alma
Alma
Street is the big one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then right at that gap before in that gap after you come around that corner, the cars, this is right in front of the train tracks. Cars are going to start merging out into the three avenues. Supposedly the bicyclists are then in front of traffic or in back of traffic. Like they will have their place in that queue as well, right? Is that what we're looking at?
Right. So if we were to reduce westbound down from 2 to 1 travel lane, effectively, we can either have a bike lane that carries all the way to Alma Street, which is basically, again, effectively, concept B in this case.
Or we just have everything merged together.
Right. Or we're just basically, where the bike lane is, maybe we hash it out, and then it sounds like maybe, at least from Commissioner Siberry and Commissioner Lee's perspective, it makes more sense for the segment between Alma Lane and Alma Street to be more of a share road. So that way the bicyclists don't get, they don't have to navigate the transition at the intersection. They can navigate the transition right, on the actual roadway. I think it's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
I would just add that 99% of bicyclists are going across El Camino.
Right.
Since there's no bike lanes on El Camino, there's hardly anybody turns right or left on El Camino on their bike. So all of them are going across El Camino.
Exactly. Right. We want to ensure that everyone has the safest possible crossing there, right? So if they're ahead or behind of car traffic, they're still all in the same queue at that point. Hopefully, hopefully that's what, if the, again, this is like for advanced bicycle, right? We're not.
And Lydia, the other comment I'll make is there's very little right turning going on El Camino. It's mostly left turn or straight. So for cyclists, you end up kind of on the right side of the through lane.
Right.
Okay.
So and then if we have just the single lane going through, that gives us enough room, Kevin, if I'm correct, for a pedestrian refuge that maybe is not big enough for bicycles, but maybe at least for pedestrians. Yeah.
Right. At that point, we effectively would have extra room that we can give to either whatever facility that we feel desire, which in this case would be a median. It sounds like. Okay,
so
the proposal here to remove the bike lane, explore removing the bike lane and adding a pedestrian refuge.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's what I'm Bill. Now that we've actually explored exactly what what all the options are here that I think are feasible, and not having the bike lane, I think this opens up like other possibilities, right? So if as a bicyclist, I'm not merging with traffic right before the tracks, I'm much more comfortable with the concept B, I guess, right? And whether that merge, and then you can continue the bike lane past Noel to that Alma lane, and that gives me like half a block to do the merge in, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I could go for that. Jackie, do you think half a block is enough to do the merge there? I'd be curious.
Where am I? So in concept B, there's a bike lane. So I'm no longer taking spot in a car lane, right? It's just one car through lane.
But imagine, Yeah, imagine that it ends after, instead of that where the bike lane is right now, after Alma Lane, between Alma Lane and the end of that block, there's a merge there. So it's Sharrows, essentially. You've got one lane, instead of two lanes, you have one lane with Sharrows that you have to make the merge with cars in before you get to the train tracks and El Camino.
Again, you're only, Jackie, you're on just, I ride this all the time.
Yeah.
There's very little traffic turning right on El Camino. So, I mean, right now you're shunted way over to the right side of that westbound road. And I always go straight. Everybody goes straight on that.
Yeah.
Every cyclist goes straight. Now, right now you have to cross, you have to maneuver people. You have to maneuver out of the way of people turning right, but there's enough time. And this, if you don't have two lanes and just one lane of traffic, to me, it's just safer whether you have a bike lane there or not, because most cyclists are going straight through and most cars are either going straight or left on El Camino.
So I hear you. I feel like between the few, there are not very many cars who turn right on El Camino. I fully agree with that. There are an almost equal number, though, of cars who turn right on that street that goes behind Kepler's. And I still worry about the jockeying for space, about one long line of cars, and then them like trying to get into there, like, because if you're sitting in a long line of traffic and you're one of only 3 people who wanted to turn right, but now you can't get there because there's just one lane of traffic, like, I just worry about the people who are going to be aggressively trying to get to their right turn lane, and I'm trying to just go straight, which currently, like, I feel like that one Sharrow lane is for all the people who are going straight and turning right. And they're all in that one lane right now. And then all the people who want to go left are in that other lane waiting to get into one of those two, except for the couple of people who like to try to anyway, but that's how I see most traffic. Whereas later, you're going to put all those people into one lane. And then I don't know. I just, I do worry about that. It doesn't feel safer to me, I guess is what I would say. But I also am trying to remember that in that, like, I ride an e-bike, and so I'm going the speed of the cars in the lane. And so for me, like, I'm in the lane, and I don't typically ride on the side of it. If it's in that kind of situation, I'm all the way in the lane. And so
right. Yeah. So I think Jackie, you're talking about like what the going to one travel lane, but I think that Commissioner Lee was talking about something different. Commissioner Lee was talking about, if we go back to the picture again, not the one with the 2040 travel model that nobody believes, but if we just go back to this model where the with the concept, so staff, in one word, remind us what we voted on. Which one we voted on before, in one word.
So before was this, which was 4 travel lanes and a bike lane on the eastbound direction, with some additional recommendations to make the striping a little bit better. But ultimately, this is a recommendation.
Sorry, but this one is, it's really a lot. Can you go back to the other picture, because the other picture is easier to read? Did we vote on either of these things in A or B? We voted on neither of them?
No. So A and B are essentially extreme ends of one another, and then staff recommendation is sort of in the middle, meaning the eastbound is essentially what's in concept B, but then westbound is what's out there right now. So it's a concept C, if you will. It's a modified version, and so again, staff's recommendation is eastbound will be what's in concept B right now, but westbound will be what's out there right now.
All right. So if you go back to the one that we voted on, which is harder to
This
read.
one. Yeah,
I
I'm
think
gonna try to make it bigger.
Yeah, one of the lessons here is to do the drawing so that like civilians can read it, because that's part of what made problems for us to begin with. So in this model, where is the bike lane?
The bike lane will be on the eastbound only.
Okay, so we don't have, and so Lydia, I don't see, Lydia, are you, but yeah. So the problem with the bike lane westbound and the idea of removing it, that there isn't a bike lane westbound in the version that we voted on. There's only a bike lane eastbound. So unless, Lydia, are you talking about removing the westbound bike lane also?
No, she was looking at the other concept, Adina, where there was one westbound lane, travel lane, car lane, one westbound car lane that made room for a potential bike lane.
Okay. All right. So then, Lydia, I don't think what you were proposing solved what you were trying to solve, because you're saying, well, maybe you can make room by removing the like awkward bike lane, which is to, you know, like when you're actually all the way to the right and you're trying to go straight, which is a problem, except for that is not a thing in the design that you're talking about, because the room is already created by going down to one travel lane. And so I think we are back to the question about, do we have enough votes to pass a motion where we are going down to one travel lane?
If I can add to the motion, I think an easy fix, if you had a bike lane westbound and one travel lane on a trial basis, again, you could have green stripe, a green treatment for cyclists that are going to go straight, and maybe green treatment for cyclists that may turn right on El Camino, but at minimum, green treatment for cyclists going straight. I know there's room for that because the city commissioned a consulting plan back in 2002 that showed there was room for that by skinning up all those lanes when they hit El Camino. So there could be a green treatment and an interaction zone to tell drivers that cyclists are going to be going straight across.
All right, so Bill, you're combining a few different ideas. I want to tease them apart, so hopefully we can get to something that we can vote on and decide. So you are.
My motion is the one west. So keeping eastbound the way the staff has designed it, concept B, I think. Westbound, we go down to one lane and either a bike lane or not, or a Shero, but in any case, having green treatment across Alma, across the tracks, and guiding cyclists so that they can continue straight on what is that, Menlo Avenue.
Okay, first I want to get to the thing that you said about being able to pilot something. So I want to ask staff just about that. Is it possible, like in the COVID world where we have funding through MCC for doing pilot projects, would it be possible to do a pilot project and then change it if it wasn't working? Is that feasible? Is it possible to like do the repaving, have a pilot, and then roll it back? So I just want to ask about that.
Yeah, and to answer that directly, yes, we once we do the resurfacing, we can put the striping down with paint instead of thermoplastic. So we can put paint down, and then if there's and typically we would do that if there's some foresight that we might change that in the future. So it's certainly a possibility. Yes.
All right, and go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna kind of continue continue on the conversation about why staff was recommending against that idea. But I'll let the chair go first. Yeah.
Okay, then all right. So So you answered that a pilot was possible, but then you said, but we would still not recommend it, even though a pilot is possible. Why is that?
Well, you're right. So, and that goes back to, I think the conversation that we had before us to, again, I'm not arguing the merit of this, but just simply based on the study that we did, we just felt like with the existing amount of traffic out there, and granted, again, this is pre-COVID, so 2019, if you will, that particular configuration that Commissioner Kirsch brought up, we're already seeing queue that's going all the way to Laurel. It's not impacting Laurel yet, but it is back there, and that's existing volume. So, with just some additional volume in there, we will essentially see an impact in terms of the operation. And again, I understand that there is, we could argue the merit of using 2040 volume, et cetera, but I think my point that I'm trying to get across is that even with a slight increase in traffic, we would see an impact of the new configuration downstream, meaning if we reduce westbound to one travel lane, we'll start seeing an impact at Ravenswood and Laurel. And that's simply because the queuing would be far back enough where it would create that type of impact. And that's why staff is recommending against reducing westbound to one.
Yeah, I have one more question on this. I have one more question on this, which is, has this analysis studied Caltrain running more frequent service after electrification rolls out in 2023 or whatever it is in the next few years? Has that been?
That's a great question. The answer is no, but there's some thought put into that because, with electrification, there will be more trains going through, meaning the gate downtime will be more frequent, right? Because you have more trains going through, the gate is going to come down more often. That's just math, simple fact. However, we're also taking into account that electrification might make the speed go a little faster. It's more efficient. So at the end of the day, we decided that we would keep the gate downtime assumption to be the same instead of making it worse for the future.
I was just going to add that go ahead, Mike. I know you want to talk.
Yeah, sorry. So let me ask you this question then on all those things being said. I can understand the staff not wanting to go with the recommendation because they're coming with the reality that is more population and all of those things coming and worrying about trying to go there, even with the concept of complete streets. But does this mean that you guys are just giving up the ghost on grade separation and thinking that by 2040 grade separations won't happen? Because it's like 19 years from now. And we're talking about we're not talking about putting up, like a zipper thing like that's going across the Golden Gate Bridge to remove lanes or anything. We're talking about paint that if it proves to be something that throws the queue off too badly, that you could just remove the paint.
Yeah, no, and I think that's going back to Chair Levin, that would be an option. If ultimately, if that's the commission's desire, that would be how we actually execute the project, assuming the city council ultimately votes for that same design.
Yeah, I understood what I'm saying. With those things into consideration, does that leave staff in their kind of entrenched non-recommending of it? Because you guys are realistically going ahead and programming what your forward thinking is without the possibility of any of these things that we think are going to happen.
Right. I would say from a staff perspective, yes, we are kind of looking with an eye toward the future.
Kevin, I think you also should consider that we have this huge development, 500 El Camino. We have this huge development, 1300 El Camino. Mm-hmm. I think these are supposed to be, or trying to be, pedestrian oriented, sort of, train accessible development. So I believe you're going to have potentially more people crossing this intersection. You also said there may be more traffic. So to me, more people, more traffic, more danger. I don't think that's been added into it. I don't know if the city has considered that. Potentially, we could have a lot more pedestrian traffic because we have these developments that are close to Menlo Station, and we should make it easy for these folks to walk to the station and make it attractive and safe to walk to the station.
Commissioner Lee has a hand. Commissioner Lee.
Hey, Bill, I see how this could, the narrowing of the road makes sense from the pedestrian experience crossing the road, but I'm kind of leaning towards what Jackie said about how having 2 lanes is actually useful for diverting all those left-hand turns and keeping the straight going across El Camino safer for bicyclists. And so it is true. I think having funneling, keeping everyone in and then funneling everyone out sounds like it just, from a gut level, it sounds more dangerous for bicyclists trying to navigate this area. And it's super complicated even with the 2 lanes and the train tracks. I feel like it's a lot to ask even right now. I do like the idea of providing some extra green striping that Kevin was saying that might be it's something they're considering, I think, in this current proposal, right?
Yeah, because one of the an element of the motion was to explore some innovative striping for the westbound direction, given to kind of highlight the sharing aspect.
And then continue even past the tracks, possibly.
Right. So
El Camino potentially.
It's something that we'll look into. I'm less confident how far I can carry. I'm very confident that from a striping standpoint, we can bring it up maybe shy to the track because that's our real estate. Once you get to the track, that's not our right of way anymore. So I can't make that promise as confidently in this case. But we are exploring the at least within the limit that you're seeing right now. I'm confident we can come up with some striping that will highlight the sharing aspect of it. Yes.
I'm happy to withdraw my motion. I'll just vote against this not making this pedestrian crossing safer, and I'll just deal directly with City Council. So I'm happy to withdraw the motion. My motion. Just
Okay, so if you want us to revert to the motion that was made at the last meeting when we considered it, and that included staff looking into all the things that they're working on, including the raised crosswalk and the green treatments and so on. So that was the motion to move the staff's recommendation with the addition of a set of pedestrian improvements and striping. Then if you have withdrawn your motion, I will move the previous recommendations. We can revote, and Bill, your opinions can be recognized on the record.
Why do we need to do that? The motion you already did that. We already voted on that before. It's already done. It's moved on.
Because Bill voted yes by accident, and he wants to vote no on purpose.
Yeah, it sounds like I wasn't the only one that didn't know exactly what we were voting on, because it wasn't rendered for us in a staff drawing. It was part of this and part of that. And
Yeah,
that's why we brought it back.
And that is a lesson to be drawn that I hope that staff takes away and the commission takes away, that higher quality rendering helps us make better, more informed recommendations. So going back to revote, so Commissioner Kirsch opinions are there in the record, so that when we have minutes, it's on the record. So going back to the previous motion, do I have a second from the other day?
Okay, so we'll have a motion on the table by Chair Levin. We'll say the second is by Commissioner Lee. Again, just for clarification, the motion is to move forward with staff's recommendation, which is what's in front of you here right now, with three additional requests. One was to explore a race crosswalk at Ravenswood, on Ravenswood at Alma. The other one is to also explore innovative striping for the westbound direction to highlight the sharing aspect of between bicyclists and vehicle. And then also, I believe at the last meeting, the last request was to see if we can reduce the travel lane and create a refuge island. So that was the motion. And I believe I've shared with you sort of the progress of each element previously, so I'm not gonna state that again. So if I can have a raise of hands from the commissioners here who would vote yes to that motion. I'm seeing, great, I see 4 commissioners, and Commissioner Kirsch, I believe you will be voting no on this?
Correct.
Correct.
No.
Okay, great, thank you very much. So we have a 4-1 vote and the motion passes. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Kirsch, I just will say that we'll look, I can't make many promises, but obviously anytime we look at a crossing, we'll do our best to make it as safe as possible.
Kevin, listen, I appreciate the professionalism of you and the staff. I really do. I just feel like the city needs to have a come to Jesus discussion about where we're trying to head as a city, especially with all this additional construction. Do we want to make this a pedestrian and bicycling city or not? And I feel like, we're making no progress on the walking side, which is a shame, because if we could make walking safer and more convenient, more people would do it. And therefore there'd be slightly less demand to get into your automobile. And if we had more cycling infrastructure, people with e-bikes, we get people out of the car. I just think there's going to be changes, and I think the city needs to have a hard discussion about it. So I'll just make more noise with city council, but I appreciate the professionalism, and the approach you've always done with all of these staff reports.
Thank you.
All right. And so since we will have more opportunities, hopefully, Bill, you will stay involved and forcefully advocate for this safer option, because this is not our last opportunity. All right, moving on to, and thank you, Bill, for fighting passionately for safety here and elsewhere.
I live here.
Right.
We all live here. We want to make this a safe city. We don't want this to be a car utopia. We want this to be a complete street city. That's what we want. And I think we have to do it one piece at a time. And if we don't do it, then we've lost the opportunity for 5 or 10 or 20 years. Thank you.
All right. So moving on to informational items, which are transmitted to commission and staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the commission. These are not action items, but commission, city council member, or member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. I believe that we have some come forward, including some that are in response to requests from commissioners in the last meeting. Kevin, what informational items do you have to bring forward?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So I have 2 particular projects that I wanted to bring to your attention. One is the Transportation Management Association. So staff is preparing to go to the City Council with a final report in one of the July or August meetings. So I will certainly make sure to inform the Commission when that is finalized. The other project that I wanted to mention is, as many of you know, that we had a brief discussion at the last meeting about the intersection of Van Buren and Ringwood. There was a news article that identified it as one of the more dangerous locations for cyclists. Since then, we have been looking into the article and trying to do some due diligence as well. At this moment in time, we are still working with the article. It was written by a law firm. I don't know if it's someone from the firm, or maybe they got the information from somewhere else. But at this moment in time, we're trying to get a better understanding where they get the data from, because we have done some due diligence. We have reached out to our police department. we had looked at some of the outside data sources. And we're not getting quite the number that the article was presenting, which was 16 collisions, and we were not getting that. So we'll continue to explore. We'll continue to do reach out to hopefully to the original author of the article to try to get a better sense of the data itself. Now, with that being said, I do want to bring bring to the commissioner's attention that independently, we're also looking at improving that intersection. It was actually a project that had happened pre-COVID, I think a couple of years ago, where we were exploring how to better improve this intersection without the installation of a stop sign, which at that time was not warranted due to the low volumes. So we were looking at potentially doing maybe a raised crosswalk there to kind of physically force improve the area a little bit more. So unfortunately, that project was kind of put on hold due to staff resource constraints. But as many of you know, I had reported to the commission that we are currently looking to replenish the transportation division's resource. We have an engineer that is coming on board, and then potentially have another engineer that will be joining the team potentially in the next few months or so. So there's an opportunity for us to sort of look at some of the outstanding projects and see if there's an opportunity to kind of reinstate them. And this will certainly be one of them. So I just wanted to kind of share the current status of that location. Again, we'll continue to reach out to the author, try to reach the author of the article and try to get a better understanding of where the data source was coming from. So with that, I will conclude my update.
All right, thank you very much. Do any other commissioners have comments or questions about this update at this time? I will have one, but after my colleagues. Commissioner Lee.
Hey, so I took a quick look at that that article too, and it says that the data comes from Switters. So and also the I have not reached out to him personally, but I have the email address for the head of the law firm that did the analysis on that. So Kevin, if you want that, just reach out to me separately.
Yeah, sure. We appreciate that. We actually reached out to the law firm a couple of times and kind of was not successful.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
maybe
so I appreciate any connection that you can provide.
I can
yes.
maybe perhaps facilitate that connection.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
All right. So the two thoughts that I had there were one about the Ringwood and Van Buren, that if that collision data is accurate in that article, the explanation that staff had given back immediately and then a couple of years after that bridge was installed, they said that it didn't meet the warrants in part because there was not a track record of collisions. So if that information in that article is in fact correct, and there have been those collisions, I would hope that would be an opportunity to look back and see if it meets the warrant. I am not a big fan of throwing stop signs hither and yon. I think in a lot of places they don't actually improve matters, but the visibility here is so bad that I think that anything, including a raised crosswalk that people who are driving can't see, will be less effective than a stop sign that people can see. So if it meets the warrant now, that would be something to very much look at. Having raised this question back when the bid was installed. And then lastly, on the TMA, one thing in the discussion at the last meeting, there was a letter from the Palo Alto TMA that described the services that they offer, and the Transportation Master Plan Implementation Committee chatted about this topic because the TMA is one of the TMP implementations. And well, I guess I'm making my comment now instead of on the committee item instead. But that question was asked of staff, has that been considered? And staff said, no, it was not considered because the Manzanita description sounded much larger and more capacious. And so that they didn't look at the offerings of the Palo Alto TMA, which were smaller, but more concrete. But at least at the time that we had the commission meeting, when questions were asked about the services that Manzanita offered, it seemed like that was in a fairly early stage, and their offering was not yet concrete. So if there is time to do so, the subcommittee thought it would be a good idea to go back and look at some of those offerings, which are on the one hand limited, but on the other hand specific, to see if they would be of value to the city. So those were my comments. Any other comments on the information item? I'm going to put my hand down. And did staff also see, there was an article in addition to the one from the WAF, there was an article in the Daily Journal that had the stats. It might have been the same stats on the Ringwood Brand Buren.
Same article.
Same article? Okay, same article. Cool. So let's see. I think we will now move on to, after the update on the major project status, which we have done, to committee and subcommittee report on climate action plan. I don't have anything new. Commissioner Myers, anything new?
Nope.
All right. For downtown, Commissioner Baruzzi is not here. On metrics, nothing to report. On multimodal, nothing to report unless Commissioner Cibrian has something. On Safe Routes to School, anything from Commissioner Cibrian-Early?
So I guess everyone's heard that they've increased the vaccine eligibility now to 12, which is very exciting. I don't think that actually impacts the school attendance. As far as I know, MPCSD is continuing along with the hybrid plan till the end of the year. But
no, they're well up through 8th grade. K-5 is every kid every day now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just
right.
I haven't been as tuned in on the elementary side. And these are the bicyclists that are going to Hillview, right? So yeah, so I think that's pretty much it, right?
There is a walking, biking audit tour thing in Bellhaven on May 25th.
Oh, have they scheduled it already?
Is that a Tuesday? I thought so.
Can you send information about that? Because Vanessa mentioned that they wanted to do one, but she hadn't given me the latest.
Yep, I will. I'll send you the email she sent me, but I'm pretty sure it's on the 25th from I don't know, 3 to 4, maybe something like that.
Okay, maybe send it to Kevin in case anybody else is interested in being part of it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yes.
That sounds very cool. So on the transportation master plan, I mentioned the the thing that the TMA item. Anything else, Commissioner Shabrian, on TMP implementation that happened that I'm not remembering? Okay, and we did make recommendations that are going to be coming forward in the CIP through the budget. So we will have opportunities to speak to City Council about the stuff that we had recommended. On G7 zero emissions, any updates from Commissioner Meyer?
I think the only update is that we're too late to make any difference in the world about any of the stuff that zero emissions affects. So I don't know. Guess we don't care till there's water in the streets. That's all I got.
Well, on that really
Cheery note.
thing, you know what? Like in the CIP, we will have VMT reducing projects to encourage City Council to vote on for implementation in the next 1 year and in the next 2 years. So I do hope that, we can recommend, endorse those to City Council, and hopefully City Council will improve them and stuff will go in and get done.
On the bright side, for vehicle miles traveled, you could probably add in canoes and kayaks to the commuting across town soon anyway. So there'll be other methods to travel. So that's a positive, I guess.
Dean, I'd like to make just a closing comment because I'm off the commission. Mike and I are off the commission. It's been really great working with y'all. Kevin, it's been great all these many years now. Patrick as well. I would just like to. I feel like, the only hope we have is to create a pedestrian and bicycle friendly community so that we don't have to get into automobiles, as a first measure. And I would just encourage everyone to push hard on staff and City Council to make that happen. I know it's going to be a long, it's a generational, multi-generational thing, but we got to start and keep pushing in that direction. We're going. So anyway, that's my comment.
All right. Thank you. We will continue the fight until we are all underwater, burnt to a crisp, or both.
I'll just say that I definitely appreciate the passion and the participation that Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner Kirsch. I think I learned a lot from the both of you, and it's been a pleasure working with you guys. I know we'll cross our path soon enough. So this is certainly not goodbye, but certainly appreciate you teaching me along the way as well.
And Dina, thanks for all your great leadership this year with our commission.
Yeah, and good luck the rest of you. Have fun.
All right, so thank you, and we'll see you on the latest and greatest and most innovative. They have battery. Maybe they'll have battery-powered airplanes, and you'll be doing the vertical takeoff and landing, and we'll have policies for that.
I look forward to it, Adina.
All right. Good night, all. And we'll call the meeting adjourned to the next meeting.
Take care, all.